Hello and welcome! My name is Jessica Jem, and in today's video I'm sharing a Leah and the Vulpi speed paint. Grab your butterfly nets and let's pounce! Now, this piece may be a bit of a disconnect from the cute art to the darker story that goes with it. And here's why. I actually made this piece as a sort of apology for killing off a bunch of a player's spawn. Wait, don't leave yet, hear me out. While Vecna was working on his preparations, Leah had heard of terrible things being done to people in the land. They would go missing, and then their soul and/or memories would be wiped clean, and have another's imprinted onto it. The being doing this was none other than Vulpes, or, well, a version of them. You see, they had spread themselves across many bodies, minds, and souls, trying to preserve their life and keep ahead of anyone who may be hunting them for their past and continued misdeeds. What they didn't realize was that, by doing this, they had led the hunters straight to them. Leah decided to do what Rael and the others couldn't bring themselves to over and over. She was going to wipe out the dangerous presence of the Vulpi to prevent them from harming any others, as this deplorable act was merely one in a string of many. She went about tracking, finding, and eliminating many of the copies that had been made. However, she did find that a special few had become their own beings, no longer desiring to continue down the reckless paths that their many predecessors had chosen. These she left to continue in the lives that they had created for themselves, as the only reason she was doing this at all was to free them of their insatiable desire to continue by whatever means necessary. Their fear of death was tormenting them. Having known many versions of them over many years, she truly felt that these were the greatest mercies that she could offer them. Obviously, the player does have a connection with each of these beings they've actually played as, so I decided to do this piece of a happier existence for all. Sometime in my conversation with V4, the Vulpes who had become a god, long story, they patronizingly called me a brave and foolish little lion, and so I latched onto that as an animal to go with the foxes. I looked up a list of fox types and chose whichever I felt matched the features of each version, making all of them different from one another. I basically just sketched straight from references as I am not experienced with drawing animals, so I'll try to link them all below. Fun fact, foxes are typically solitary animals, but the name for two or more foxes hunting together is a skulk. For a mama and her babies in a den, it's an earth, and a group of domesticated foxes are called a leash. As you saw, I laid out all the basic positions for composition and sketched them out, arranging them as well as I could to not block any important elements. I gave each of them 2 or 3 nods to their original character design through clothing, body parts, personality, and any jewelry turned into a gem on their foreheads. I tried to keep a unified color palette by using the same tones for any parts that were similar colors on the different breeds, as well as a few layer styles, as always, of course. I put them on a simple but aesthetic background and finished it off by adding all of their names and the breeds of fox. Turns out, sketching foxes is a blast. I recommend giving it a try. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun with this lighthearted, joyful art piece. If you enjoyed this video, please grant me a like, and if you'd like to see some more of my art, subscribe to join me. That's all for now, so farewell, and have a wonderful day.